noticed you reading cartoons, unknown. They got any fucking tips in there to help me get away from Racer X? I stole that man's blueprints.
Well, I know he who works with his hands is a laborer. He who works with his hands and his head is a craftsman. He who works with his hands, his head, and his heart is an artist. And ladies and gentlemen, I am the unknown factor. This is the questionnaire. And Hardaway, would you stop pissing off people?
Look, Racer X had a nifty little thing that he was going to give the Speed, and I didn't want Speed to have it because I wanted to win the next race, not Speed. So fuck him. He was cheating anyway. You ain't supposed to be giving people shit.
Look, we're gonna get to that in just one moment. But first, yeah, that magazine I was just reading, that was a issue that was mainly guest artists, man, and you know, Comic Book U only got one copy of cartoons most recently, which is my boy's favorite magazine. He'd pop in and say what's up, but one, he's 3, so I don't think he'd really get the full like, oh shit, this dude draws it, and 2, he's asleep, right? But we got Jason Sylvestre in the house, man. How's it going?
It's going great, man. Thanks for having me.
I think it's funny. Everybody's going to say I pronounced that wrong.
They probably will, but everybody else pronounces it wrong. So you're the first one that's got it right.
No, see, I didn't, Hardaway. How funny is that? Woo! And for anyone that keeps up with the quest, they
put this on the calendar. Not only is it the first person to ever get it right, that's the first name he ever got right.
Hey. That's not the first name, man. We've done like 50 of these. I've probably gotten like half of them wrong. Leave me alone.
Nimrod doesn't count, bro.
Erica Schultz. I mean, whatever. Doug Wagner. I can sit here. We ain't going through that laundry list, and I ain't name dropping like that. Y'all should just go check out all the past quests. But that is not what this particular quest is about, man. But just had hold on, let my brain access the name of Scott on, right? But you can go check out that quest, man. He's dropping a cereal box time machine, right? And oh no, shit, my bad, shit, wrong one. It was Chrissy, right?
Oh my
too many quests
goodness.
going on, right? We had Chrissy back, right, for a little solo, but she can check out her and Chris McDonald. She answered a couple questions on the questionnaire that she hadn't previously, and she picked the same superpower you did, dude. What kind of weak ass choice is that?
I like to travel.
Flight, man. Flight. Like, really?
Okay, no, hold on. Actually, I want to break that down. I want to break that down how that is not a cheap nor weak power, okay?
No. I'm not saying, firstly, that it is. I'm just saying somebody that's into comics, I consider it a very basic-ass answer.
Okay, but that's because you're not thinking of the potential and the possibilities of the dang thing. You're only thinking about, you can go up into the sky and whatnot. No, I want you to run game and think about this, bro. In order to fly, let's say the man can fly as fast as the speed of sound. In order to withstand that, his body, bone structure, flesh structure has to be able to withstand that amount of pressure.
See,
and
but
hold on.
No. I know your point. I know your point, Hardaway. But I said one superpower, right? Meaning that you'd have the power of flight, but you ain't fucking invulnerable. So, Jason, you go flying into a plane, you go splat, bro. And that's all I'm saying, man. I didn't say like
that's a possibility.
I didn't know if y'all ever seen that YouTube video where it's a video, I think it's on YouTube, where they go in and they're buying superpowers and they're like, hey, you can only get one. They're like, we want Wolverine's powers. And they're like, well, that's Sentinel too. He has his healing factor in his claws. Which one do you want? And they pick his claws, which without Wolverine's healing factor is a fucking terrible idea.
Correct. It would be a nightmare.
It would be. But I want you to think about it like this, Unknown. Depending on how fast my man can fly, depends on what he can go through. All right? Because you got to remember, a blade of grass can go through 6 inches of freaking steel in certain tornadoes. So you have to understand, if this man can fly faster than Mach 10, it don't matter what's in front of this boy. He goes right through.
No, hold on, Jason. All I'm saying, man, is if you like to travel, pick teleport.
Teleport is a solid choice. Yeah, it is.
But to me, that would be weak unless you teleport in somebody and they don't kill you. You know what I'm saying? Because you could be frail and teleport. You cannot be frail and fly.
The problem with teleportation is you have to be able to see where you're going to land, and so you risk teleporting into the top of the Empire State Building and ending up impaling yourself on an antenna on the roof or something like that. So, whereas flight, I could fly to the top of the Empire State Building and land on it and then fly off.
But let me go with the fact of if you teleport, you just have to teleport multiple times.
Assuming I survived the first one.
But if you teleport where somewhere you can actually visibly see, and they're just, okay, I can see that. Okay, I can see that. Okay, I can see that. I honestly, one, I think it'd be quicker, right? Two, you wouldn't risk the threat of impaling yourself on something as long as you teleported only places that you were, visibly able to see. You know what I mean? It might just mean you have to. Yeah.
With that, Unknown.
What?
It's based off the speed of thought. It's not actually based off the speed of your eyesight, which your eyesight is slow as fuck compared to everything else in your body. So when you are going off of the speed of thought and whatnot, if you didn't notice or know that thing was going to be there, bro, you ain't teleporting nowhere. You're going to teleport right to death. So it's
whatever.
When it comes to skill.
Fine. I still think
to skill, you got to be highly skilled to teleport.
I still think it's a weak answer, Jason. I'm sorry. I've gotten it twice.
That's okay. That's okay.
I got your bag, Jason. I got your bag. I know what it entails to fly. I understand.
Whatever. But like I said, man,
my mindset is if I choose something like, let's say, super strength, for example, then everybody wants me to help them move. I don't want to do that. If I choose to be on fire all the time, then I'm just going to set fire to everything I touch, and I don't want to do that. If I choose telekinesis, let's say, for example, then again, everybody wants me to help them move, and I don't want to do that. So I thought flight's pretty good one, because then I can go off to France and pick up fresh baguettes and bring them home to my wife for a date night, or if I want to get some champagne from fancy places, or if I want to go to Greece, let's say, it's winter in Canada and I want to get out of Canada where it's super cold, I could fly to the Bahamas.
See, he
no
went
every
okay, I'll give you. You did. You gave that a great deal of thought, Jason. Man, I'll give you that. But at the same time, what is it when somebody's like, "Hey, man, I'm running late to work. Can you fly me there real quick?" And now suddenly you got a dude on your back while you're flying. That's all I'm saying, right?
I'm not super strong.
Durability and strength are two different things.
But real quick, let's just get into it, man. Jason Sylvestre right here does cartoons, right? Now that's car tunes. As in cars, man. And as I said, my son is a huge fan, man. I mean, I know I've got a couple different issues. And like I said, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get issue 44 because they just were running.
Hold on. I want this one to be out there. For those who have not read or do not know what cartoons is, Jason, could you give us a brief summary of what that is?
Absolutely. So Cartoons Magazine is basically like Bad Magazine, but for car people. So it's we have a rotating cast of artists. A lot of them have been with the magazine for a long, long time. The magazine was first published in 1959, so it's been around for a minute. And went away for a little bit in the 90s, and a gentleman out in Ontario bought the rights to it about, I want to say about 8 or 9 years ago, and he brought the magazine back. I used to read it as a kid. I loved that they have the little My Art tunes in there where you'd have an artist teaching you how to actually draw a car, and being a guy that was learning how to draw, that was really something I gravitated towards. And it's a lot of basically all ages type humor, but it hits adults and it hits kids. Like when I go to a comic book show, my audience range literally goes from 9 to 90. I have the guys that have seen Cartoons Magazine when they were young, when it was out back in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, whatever era they were into, and they're dragging their adult sons and daughters along and showing them this magazine that they had great memories of, and then they're bringing their kids along. And so I've had experiences where I've had an old guy bring his son along, and his son will buy a couple of copies of the book because dad's nostalgic about it, and then they enjoy it, and then they end up subscribing, and then they give it to their kids because it's something safe their kids can read. So it's honestly a pleasure to get to work with them.
Awesome. Can I say, that's what you brought up several points within cartoons that I think are great, and people fail to realize about comics. Man, is one, they very much help promote literacy. You know what I mean? And you've got a comic that spans generations, and I'd say there's probably there's a lot of times where that happens, where it's like, the father was into it, so the son got into it, so the other son got into it. Because I know I dig into all kinds of little things. Like I was reading It's Jeff with my boy earlier. I mean, not that you can really read that, but I was kind of telling him the story of what was going on, anyways.
Right.
And I mean, they very much help promote literacy, especially where you can write it to a degree where it's kid friendly, but then you do that bit of Pixar,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
the
There's
Pixar
stuff in there for
jokes.
the adult. There's stuff in there for the kid, and the kid might not get all of the jokes or all of the visual humor, but they get enough of it to get a laugh out of it. Like they know what's funny, right? A kid will tell you if a joke goes over or doesn't go over. A kid will tell you.
And can I say though, I'm curious, man, when you were reading this as a kid, do you think it's responsible in a certain aspect for helping you ending up working on it?
I think it was part of it. Yeah, like as a kid, I grew up on Mad Magazine, Cracked Magazine, those old Conan black and white Marvel reprints of the Savage Sword stuff. I grew up on newspaper strips. I loved, Peanuts and Horrible Hagar and all of that stuff. So I would say I was probably at a very early age. It was in my brain that I was going to want to go into the kind of the gag strip path. I knew I wanted to make people laugh. I had a very brief interest in trying to become a superhero artist, but it just never really felt like my space. It's something, I don't know. I just enjoy making people laugh. And I love gag strips. I love drawing them. I love reading them. That's just kind of my thing.
Hey, man, Deadpool makes me laugh all the time.
Deadpool's hilarious, but a lot of that's down to a good visual artist with a good writer. If you've got a good team, it works.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I think that's
You ever
true
think
in all things as far as that aspect, though.
That's
I
true.
think so. Yeah.
But why don't you just thought why not make a strip about a goofy superhero? One that I don't know, like make a strip about a goofy superhero that works on cars or something. I don't know. I think that would be kind of fun.
I work with a writer named Carson. He's been a gag writer for 30 some odd years. He's written for a lot of things like Dennis the Menace and Pearl Before Swine. He's actually had some stuff in Cracked Magazine. So he and I have developed a set of characters that they're a deer and a moose, and they've discovered that they can't be hunted when they're on the highway. So they build rat rods and all kinds of wacky cars, and they don't come off the highway. So, and then we've introduced more animal characters and more like sidekick kind of characters as we go on. And the kids seem to really dig it. There's certain characters that just ring out to them. We have a beaver that drives a wooden Winnebago. We've got Chicken Little. So we have a rooster who we sort of insinuate is always stealing vehicles, even though we don't show him stealing the vehicles. But he's usually being chased by the police at some point during the strip. So, you can kind of infer what's going on there.
Well, what car does he drive, though? Because I would think it'd be funny if Chicken Little or the rooster drove a coupe.
It really depends on the theme of the mag, because usually cartoons, we have a theme for the issue. Sometimes we have a free-for-all issue where we can just kind of go wild and choose whatever style and type of vehicle that we want to do. Carson and I have done a lot of, like, we do hot rod stuff, or we've done rat rod stuff, and we've done a lot of Canadian automotive things. So we've done lots of Beaumonts and Plymouths and things of that nature. We've done Mustangs, whatever they want us to do. We've everything down to like a 70s painted panel van. We've done that sort of stuff too. So it's kind of nice we can kind of switch in and out like that and sort of have a free reign that way.
Cool. Have you guys ever had all of your animal peoples race against each other, like wacky racers?
We've had them appear in strips together a few times. I would love to do like a longer form, maybe graphic novel with all the characters. So it's something that's definitely in our minds and sort of in the works if we can get it pulled together. Cartoons just got themselves into Scholastics, and they're sort of looking for bigger material. So we're hopeful that we can be something that they'll want to see, in the book sales and things like that. So it is definitely something we would love to do. And if you're watching this and you're a fan of the magazine, let the editor know that you'd like to see a graphic novel, because a lot of, if the fans want it, it happens. That's just the way these things usually work. So,
I
but
mean,
we are very willing.
yeah, I personally would love to see a longer form for that, just because my boy being, he's only 3, well, about to be 4 here in a little while, so the short
Right.
form works a lot of times, but it's nice to have a story we can sit down and go back to too. That way he gets that part of it, because I think that's important, and that's just in development for a child.
Hmm.
I'm curious though. There's no. I mean, you've gotten into this. There's no character out there you'd love to be able to put a pin or draw as far as superhero wise.
Yeah, and I know everybody's probably gonna groan when I say it, but I actually would love to draw Spider-Ham
Dude,
Man,
that
wait,
would be great.
because
That would
no,
be fan-fucking
no,
tastic.
no. I thought you were gonna say Spider Pig, dude.
well, Spider Pig, Spider Ham. I mean, however they want to call them.
Yeah, Spider
I
Ham. Yeah, that
I
would have
think
been hilarious.
it's definitely my jam. I mean, that's where I'd be probably best utilized. I'm a cartoonist. I'm not super cross at you guys, so I don't know how I would do on a Spider-Man book or anything like that. But Spider-Man's somebody I would love to draw. He's always held a place close in my heart. And I've done a couple of pieces where I've gotten to draw Batman, but man, there's just something about the animal characters. It's just something that just ticks a box for me.
So I take it. Would you like to draw Howard the Duck too? Since you like
Yeah, Howard
that
would
kind
be
of
fun. Yeah, he could be fun.
yeah.
What
Yeah.
I'd like to see is you take all the characters from the Spider-Verse and give them all vehicles. I think that would be intriguing. But can I say, man, with it being Spider-Man, why is
Turn
it
all
that?
superheroes and villains into vehicles.
But why is it Mutant Massacre is your favorite arc though? Because looking through your questionnaire, I really think it would have been a Spider-Man story.
So for me, the reason I chose the Mutant Massacre, I know it's an oddball choice for what I do, is that's kind of the storyline that was on when I kind of discovered comic books. So I had picked up the Secret Wars stuff. I saw that on the store shelves. And so from there I got introduced to Spider-Man, and then I had no idea who the rest of the Marvel universe was. And then I saw a cover for Power Pack where it had Wolverine meeting these kids. And I saw that cover. I didn't know anything about the characters. I snapped it up, and then I realized it was part of a much bigger story. And so I went back to the comic shop in town. We were lucky that we had a guy who was really good at putting people together with things that he thought that they would be into. And so he had already set aside a bunch of the comics for me because he saw me grab the Power Pack issue, and having the forethought that I'm going to spend more money in his store, he put them aside. So I showed up and I walked out of there with an armful of comic books, and became an Uncanny X-Men reader from that moment on.
And can I just say, as far as that gentleman, I think it's important in a comic book store to have somebody that can take a person and see their
Yeah,
interests and lead them in the appropriate way. Shout out to Dave over at Comic
100%.
Book U. Yeah, shout out to Dave over at Comic Book U, who you can check out co-hosting This Month in Comics with myself, where we go through just some of the releases that have happened a month that have really piqued our interest,
Yeah.
man.
All
Sorry
right, so we
about
just get this dude to come sideways, drop kick you, and stop the commercial.
Hey, no.
If
Look,
you had
I
a
was saying,
choice, if you had
hold
a
on, Hardaway.
choice,
Hold
uh,
on. You gotta fucking interrupt me. But I'm saying, I think that's key, man, because it makes it to where it makes it easy to get into the comic book industry, because a lot of people find it intimidating, because especially being that the big two are the things that
Right.
really stick out. There's a lot of legacy there, right? And I mean, cartoons is definitely something you can go pick up any issue and you can just read it. You know what I mean? It's not a problem.
Yeah.
But what do you think about that, as far as like, do you think comic books can be intimidating to somebody that, has no background?
Yeah, to a brand new reader, there are certain established superhero worlds I think that would be really hard to just jump in feet first, because they've got 60, 70 years worth of history and continuity, and it's impossible to just jump in and from that get-go latch onto the story, and then good luck finding the back issues, because a lot of the older issues are going to be either collected in those big black and white trades that aren't color, right? So some people love the black and white art, and some are they want to see it in color. It really, depending on their preferences. So that might be a turnoff for them. They might not be interested, or if they can't find the big collections, the big omnibuses of the stories. Um, I think just the whole idea of where to start is what really puts a lot of people off from that. I mean, if you look at book sales, I mean, after issue 1, book sales drop off dramatically, right? And it's because issue 1's a really good jumping in point, because it's the beginning. It starts here, and if you missed issue 1, you've got issue 2. You might not grab it if you missed issue 1.
I mean, and that's very true, man. And I mean, it's something we've spoken about in past creators, because issue 1 is also considered going to be, it's the possibility to be the highest in as far as in the collection. You know what I mean? Like, people think, oh well, if there's a comic that's going to be worth money out of this comic series, it's going to be the first issue. Like, I mean, for anyone that did that with The Walking Dead, I don't know what that book's worth now, but they definitely hold, I don't know, 10,
a small
15,
mortgage,
20.
I think.
Yeah. They hold a chunk of money in their hand holding that comic book if it was kept in good condition. I mean, The Walking Dead initially, with its first print, was started with a very small run. So I think you do have a lot of that with people that are just exclusively collectors that buy that, and then you get an instant drop off on issue 2 just from that.
Speculators will drive the first issue sales for sure. Yeah.
Which I think is kind of sad, man. I don't know. Like, there's this part of me. I was speaking to Scott, and he said he started out just collecting comics, and then it took him a while to read them. And I'm like, why the fuck would you buy a comic and not open it and enjoy the story? It just kind of baffled my brain.
Yeah, I can tell you, I have quite a few that I've yet to open and touch, and it's because, for one, I don't want the story to start and then end on me. 2, I don't have another copy of it. And for instance, I have the entire run of Ray, the new run of Ray from Valiant. All right, each panel is a painting. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it's just a drawing on the computer or anything like that. Like, each one is like a canvas painting. So when I opened up the first 3 issues and I read them, I looked at the rest of them and was like, I don't even want to touch you, because you're way too beautiful. You know what I'm saying? My chances of messing you up,
I don't want to hear
hurt
more
my soul
of this chicanery part away. That's terrible. If your reason for not reading a comic book is because the art is too good, you what?
The whole thing was too good. I'd rather read it digitally.
Hold on, Jason. Hold on. Jason, I want to know. Like, have you ever had a comic where you're like, this art is too good, I can't read it?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I'm a collector's nightmare. I every single comic book I own, I have thumbed through hundreds of times.
Yeah, like I have a few that are like that. Most of them I've read once. You know what I'm saying? Like my Death to Wolverine, I have like a good portion of the whole entire saga, including the first 4 issues of where they showed him dying and all that jazz.
Right.
And I have to lead up and all that. But I've read the 4 of him dying. I only read that once, and it hasn't left its nice little area and stuff like that. Same with Avengers Underground. And Avengers Arena and whatnot. I read them once.
Fuck that. I just don't have time to reread the comics like I would like to, because there's so many comics that I had that if I had the time, I would totally go back and reread them. Though it is definitely a thing where I thumb through them and look through the art. Like, I think I can't remember who it was. I was having this discussion with, but it's a thing of like the art. It really, it's necessary for the story, and the art actually has to drive the story. Oh, it was Chrissy.
Right.
And it's necessary for them to match up. Like, I think like the art style for cartoons, it works for cartoons. Now, I mean, if you took and used that art style for pretty much any Marvel book, it's not gonna work. You know what I mean? It's just not. No, Hardaway, it's not.
If you did Moon Girl and Devil Dino,
Hardaway, I'm gonna throw a shoe at you. Look, it's not gonna work. Jason even agreed, and he's an artist. He works on it, and he agreed. But like, if you look at Kingdom Come, if you didn't have Alex Ross doing Kingdom Come, it probably would have never been what it was.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See?
that was a but that was designed to be, a graphic novel, not really just individual comics, right? And I think that's it's like, I don't know if you guys, I know you just recently interviewed Jason Copeland, right? And he's
Yes.
just finished his new book, Full Tilt. And I'm buddies with him on Twitter. So I've been watching his progress on this book. So I'm excited to see it come out because I've sort of seen him laying each of these stones, right? And I haven't seen any of this script. But I can kind of see like he's a good cinematic storyteller. So I'm excited to see when that comes out because I want to see the story.
Oh, see, and that's the one where Hardaway wasn't on that. Hardaway was pissing off some other supervillain and wasn't able to be on the show, and I accidentally booked Copland.
I got poisoned.
You have problems, but he had a Copland.
Yeah, I tried to get Poison Ivy. It
yeah,
didn't work out.
I had Jason Copland and John Ward on accidentally at the exact same time. Much love to both of them, and it was still a phenomenal quest. I recommend you all go check it out. We get into both of their works, which is extensive. Oh God, I'm trying to remember exactly what Jason said. Full Tilt was a combination of. It was fucking. Oh Jesus, I really can't remember the name of that movie right now. Replicants. Harrison Ford.
Yeah, I think it's like Blade Runner meets Ronin is what I would sort of
Blade
call
Runner meets oh Jesus, dude. I wish I could remember the 3 things he said off the top of my head, but I honestly cannot. But the combination of the 3, I was like, what? And I mean, fuck, if I could actually probably pull the interview up right now. Like, part of me wants to be like, hold on, let me go to the tape. But that's why I need Tom Borgwart's.
Roll the tape.
Yeah, I need Tom Brevoort's memory because I don't know. He has an encyclopedia memory of comic books to the point where it's fucking.
I need ridiculous. 2 old men Muppets just to talk shit to you. That's what I need.
You got problems, Hardaway, right?
Hey, we started talking about shit we needed that had nothing to do with. Okay, so check this out. If you had a choice, because I ask everybody this, I started asking everybody this, but if you had someone to play, write, compose, however you want to word it, the theme song to your life, who would it be?
If I had somebody to choose to do a theme song for me, I would pick Marcus Mumford from Mumford & Sons. That dude can compose.
All I know is, man, I gotta point out, like, I love your answers for favorite comic book and least favorite comic book character. Because Spider-Man and Spider-Pig, that's classic. And I love, I honestly, like I said, I would love to see. I mean, I know you can't do it in cartoons because Disney would sue the absolute shit out of you guys in like a split second. Yeah. They'd be like, what are you doing? But I would love to see you draw all the Spider-Verse characters, man. They're like, with their own little unique cars. I think that'd be very interesting. But your least favorite comic book characters, I find even more interesting, to be real honest, based on the fact that they're the 2 biggest characters from DC. Why?
Yeah, and it's not a Marvel versus DC thing. It's just the characters.
Okay, well, I want to know, though, because typically people, like, I mean, I know a lot of people that don't like Superman for many reasons, but why is it you didn't like Superman the most when you were young, and then it flipped to Batman when you were older?
So when I was young, because I'm ancient, it was pre-John Byrne Superman, right? So when I was reading comics, Superman had 100,000 super abilities and no weaknesses. So as a kid, even I would look at him as a character and say, who cares? Like, this dude can do everything. He has no potential consequences and nothing can hurt the guy. Lex Luthor showed up again. Well, it doesn't matter. He's got super everything. He'll beat him and he'll move on. So I felt like he's a character who had no sense of danger. There was never a chance that somebody was going to take Superman out. And then John Byrne introduced that whole weakness to magic thing, and he made him into a more humanized character. And then they took it a little further when they did the Death of Superman arc and all of that stuff. where you got to see, oh, well, maybe something could actually take him down. And even at that, he didn't die. He came back, and status quo, nothing really changed, right? But there was for a moment that thought that maybe they did kill him off.
I wish they would have just left him blue.
That was actually interesting. That was but that made the character different. It made him interesting. Yeah.
But people hated it. Oh my
because
God.
it was Superman to them. It wasn't the red and blue. Yeah. Yeah.
I would have loved the Superman would have stayed dead. I would have loved the Superboy would have came out going hard. I would have loved the Supergirl, Superwoman, any of them. Any of them.
Yeah.
Other than Kal-El. I just hate that dude with the utmost passion. If I was in DC Universe, I would be a hero to all except him.
Well, I want to know though then, so why did it flip to Batman in your older age?
Similar sort of idea. Batman just didn't make sense to me as a character. He's a rich guy who runs around beating up poor people.
He beats up a lot of rich people too. Look, man, I hate everybody coming after my dude.
Yeah, no. Hardaway.
He does have cool vehicles. I mean, the Bat plane is awesome. The Batmobile is essentially a hot rod. It even shoots fire. I mean, he's got his pluses. And I think that they've also just gone a little too, like his current status in the DC universe with all of the different Bat people attached to him. It gets very confusing and convoluted, and it's one of those things where it makes it hard for a new reader to jump in and enjoy the Batverse because there's just so many levels to it.
Well, have you seen Batman Incorporated?
Nope. I didn't even pick it up.
Do you know what it is?
No, I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, because God, I can't remember if Dave told me this at Comic Book Q, because I was like, what the fuck is this? And he's like, oh, that's a Batman book where there's essentially Batman in every country. And it's like a corporation he runs where he just
he has his own team of people just in case. He told everybody since day one he was going to make a contingency plan for every last person that had superpowers on the planet. And he did. And he literally put someone like himself in every country just so they can get those plans off if need be.
They should have just left the Bat's back broken. That's my honest opinion. I'm sorry. I'm not a fan. I'm a full believer that, and we've had this discussion with several artist creators and just a number of different people. And I know Hardaway doesn't agree with any of these people that are actually in the damn comic book industry. But he's the most psychotic superhero that exists.
So what? They're like, I'm in the comic book industry, and like, who cares? I'm in the music industry. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like, the whole point of the thing is that, like, dude, I write too. You know what I'm saying? I got shit that's published. Who cares? The thing is everybody has their own opinion on a character. You know what I'm saying? Unless they created the dude, they can't really truly say anything. We can't
talk to Bob Kane. He's dead.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
whatever. Did you even know that name, Hardaway?
No, but the person who created Batman is, of course, dead. Batman's old. Like, old. The dude who created Superman.
Jason, what's your opinion, bro, as far as Batman? On the mental stability level of superheroes, do you think there are people below him?
Below Batman?
Yeah.
I feel like Batman thinks everybody's below him.
No. I meant like his actual mental stability level. Like, to you, do you think there's any superhero that's crazier?
Guy Gardner.
Yeah, oh my God, thank you.
But that's Crisis of Infinite Earths. Guy Gardner was a whack job.
Hal Jordan.
Yeah, Hal had his moments.
But they're not like crazy, like, look,
Oliver
I'm a billionaire.
Queen.
They're not crazy, like, look, I'm a billionaire.
Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow, bro.
Yeah. That's a tough one.
I would say they're the same level.
Black Canary.
I think Batman has a level of paranoia that you would call him a villain if you saw him without being the hero. I mean, to say you have a contingency plan to kill all the people you're teamed
subdue,
up
not
with.
kill.
Well,
Technically,
subdue.
it's subdue.
Sure. But how long
Yeah,
is he going to keep them
permanently.
all subdued for, right? Like,
Oh yeah, that's the thing.
yeah,
With him, it's almost indefinite.
right. And
It, it,
that's no better than killing.
That's a
I
little
mean,
worse, really. Don't you see
I
how
think
our prison
so.
system works?
Yeah.
well, what he did with Superman was he put him in a red room, a red sun-filled room. He was able to live his life normally to
Well,
an
we're
extent
not
of a
trying to get
normal
into a history
prisoner.
lesson the hard way, right? I mean,
I was just saying,
we all know,
like he doesn't like keep him in
yeah,
a small ass room or
we
anything
all
like
know
that. He
Batman's
gave
a
him space,
we all know Batman's a
except for the
dick.
Flash.
Like, really,
All
I
right,
just,
all right,
like I
but
said, I just
you
wanted to
want
know
to
your
talk?
opinion. I
I
just
can
wanted
name
to,
one superhero in DC universe that is absolutely more insane than Batman. Not more paranoid though, because there's nobody more paranoid than Batman in any universe. But Booster Gold is way more insane.
Yeah, Booster's interesting.
okay, but let me ask you this, Jason. Let me rephrase that question a little bit. Do you think there is anybody else superhero wise whose mental issues cause as many issues in where they operate?
Eh,
Well, that's a tough one.
He's trying to say that Batman being alive and in existence is the reason why
Yeah.
Gotham is. But the problem with that is that he fails to realize the Council of Owls and all that jazz. Like there's
I know
plenty of
about
beings ruining.
I know about the
There's
Council of Owls and blah
there's
blah blah
plenty
blah
of
blah.
beings
I wanted, by the
ruining
way, I wanted his
Gotham way
answer, not
before Batman
yours.
came in. I'm sorry.
I mean, I could say Tony Stark, but he, even though he's a different universe from
Oh yeah,
Bruce
no, no,
Wayne.
no, I'm not. Yeah,
Yeah. But for similar reasons, though, right? He's a technocrat billionaire who doesn't see anybody else's way as any better than his, or that he doesn't see that anybody could possibly do better than he would. So it's kind of his way or his way.
he
There's
listens to
no,
Richards.
yeah, Richards is another one. They're too smart for their own good, I would almost say. I mean, look what
That's
they
the
did with the
biggest
Hulk
problem
when
with
they
this.
they shunted the Hulk off to another planet because he's too dangerous to have on Earth, and then he comes back.
But you got to give him. Had the ship gotten to the planet that it was supposed to, that may have not
He
been a
would have never
problem.
came back.
Maybe,
You know,
maybe.
like he might not have come back all fucking whole
he
smack.
might
But
not have.
yeah, shit,
But
he got hit by a little comet. And it went where it wasn't
Yeah,
supposed to, and you
But check
know,
this out. If we there's that's the question that you pose, unknown, is a very big superhero question. Would there be as much crime and supervillains in comic book worlds if there were no superheroes? And the answer to that is yes, there'd actually be more. And the reason that is because look at every place in history when you take away power from everybody. Shit hits the fan, things go bad. If you were to take away all the heroes from DC, all the heroes from any other universe, and just left the villains,
but I did not say that, Hardaway. Stop being so pessimistic. I know you're on the country's on a downfall trip at the moment, right?
no, it's not even about that, bro. It's about the thing. Like, let's say if if we'll go with the best one, Flash. If Flash was an essential city, all right,
hmm
there would have been a lot of deaths. A lot of people would have died, a lot of villains and whatnot. But because Flash is in that city, there is even more popping up trying to defeat him.
right. Everybody's
And
got to take a
Flash
shot at
is
the king.
everybody's got to take a shot at the king. And the Flash is the nicest guy because they all know Flash ain't gonna kill you.
That's
He's just
true.
gonna he's gonna just put you away. And
I
then
just wish
if you're a good villain, you can get out sometimes and he'll just walk you back.
Right.
I just wish
You know what I'm saying?
they would have picked someone that was more Barry Allen-esque to actually play Barry Allen in the Flash movie. We won't get any deeper into that though. Like it's very upsetting. But on the note of the DC
Yes.
universe, man, I love. I don't think we've ever had that selection on the questionnaire. as far as the Green Lantern being one of the worst guys. It may have happened one other time. I think honestly the most answered for that. Hold on, no Hardaway. The most answered for that is the Watchmen, but Green Lantern is a phenomenal answer. But I think they got the casting in that right. Like I think Ryan Reynolds was good casting. What about that film
was
to you?
trash.
Oh, whatever. And what about that film to you made it to where it just is the worst? I mean, because there's a lot of comic book films out there.
So the problems I had with the Green Lantern movie, I was actually a Green Lantern fan, and not like just like recently. I have followed Green Lantern, all of them, from the 1970s, from when they did the drug issues and the Green Arrow crossover stuff, all the way up into the modern age. And what I didn't like about the movie was the whole, well, one, the animated costume was ridiculous, but that wasn't really it. That was really just a distraction. Um, the second part is that they wrote it like it was an old comic book instead of introducing what should have been an amazing, oh, there's this huge, wide, intergalactic thing going on, and we're a teeny tiny dot in this infinitesimal space thing, and we have one person that protects this entire area. They kind of alluded to that a little bit, and then didn't really do anything with it. And then the two villains that they chose were, to me, well, Parallax was supposed to be like the ultimate bad villain, the entropy coming to destroy all things. And then you have the guy, Hammond with the giant brain. And it's like you have one who is comedic and one that's supposed to be so terrifying. And then the way that they produced Parallax just didn't visually make sense to me. So for me, it lost that sense of like, we're trying to tell a serious story about Green Lantern, but then we have this dude with a giant melon, and to me, it felt clunky. It didn't quite work.
So you're looking forward?
I feel you. Hold on, no, I got a question for you though about Green Lantern.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't the point of Hal Jordan was that he actually didn't have fear?
Right.
That was the reason why I off jump I did not like the movie, because Ryan Reynolds had Hal Jordan was scared of a lot of things.
Yes.
And Hal Jordan was not scared of nothing. Not until way later. Then they found out that he was like, oh, that actually scared me. But that took a while before that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the main reason why I didn't like the movie. I just wanted to make sure like that was the point of Hal Jordan. It was like nothing scared him.
Right. I felt like that movie could have been grander in scale, and as far as like the story could have set up something much larger. But DC has this habit of not crossing over their properties, whereas they could have introduced Green Lantern. Like, it's like that scene in the Justice League where they had Superman's funeral, right? And then they didn't have any of the actors from the television shows show up at all. Like, they could have just been standing in the background in a crowd scene, and everybody would have lost their bananas, because it would have been like, oh, there's the Flash, there's Green Arrow, there's Superwoman, there's like, they could have all been there without actually being there, sort of a thing. But they don't have any of that connected, right? So I feel like every time that they do something, when it should feel grand, I feel like they've put themselves into a tiny cube, and then they try to break out of it, but it doesn't quite get there. And I think that's what happened with the Green Lantern movie, is that they presented this grand story, and then they didn't have a plan on what to do with it once it launched. Whereas it should have been really a launching point for, I think, the Justice League. I mean, you introduced the Green Lantern Corps, you introduced this giant internet, global threat, and we could have had Darkseid introduced at the end of that movie, and it would have set up things for like, oh, there's consequences. The Green Lantern Corps couldn't stop this guy, and now he might come to Earth because the Earth Green Lantern pissed him off. So he's going to come here, and we have to assemble a group of heroes, and so Justice League gets formed. But they had a perfect opportunity to do that.
I mean, I can't argue that point, but I'm curious in hearing that from you, man. What do you think? Because I mean, that's been a problem DC's had. I mean, they seen the Marvel what they did with the MCU, and then they're like, oh well, we want that, and they just tried to set it up and get there way too quick. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. So, do you think, under the guidance of Whedon and the other gentleman's name who escapes me, I apologize. Do you think
James
they're
Gunn.
going to?
James Gunn.
Gun.
Oh,
Yeah.
James Gunn. Oh no, yeah, it's not
Yeah.
Whedon. It's James Gunn and the other gentleman's name who
I can't
escaped
remember
me.
his name. I'm drawing
Yeah,
a total blank.
so I didn't mean Whedon. I meant Gunn. My apologies. Both phenomenal filmmakers, though, in their own right. But yeah, Gunn and the other gentleman who, like I said, is going to be running the DCU. Do you
Right.
think they're going to be able to not do that mistake, or do you think they're going to want to get to those big story arcs too quickly?
I think it's going to depend on how much meddling comes in from the studio. I
Boom.
have the
The investors.
impression that it's Warner Brothers also meddling with their ongoing plans for films. And I know that they just cut the Batwoman movie because they were trying to save costs and they had the film already finished. So having a movie that's done, to me, doesn't make sense to just abandon it. I understand it would cost them hundreds of millions of dollars to market it, blah blah blah. But if you've already got the work finished, why not just release it? Even if you just went straight to streaming, just put it on your platform.
Well, apparently, because I
Yeah.
did a bit of research and we've had a discussion about that movie getting dropped, but it was the fact that it wasn't even about the marketing or anything. It was the fact that they were afraid they were going to lose money on it, and it
Right.
was more cost effective for them to get the tax write off for just scrapping the film than it was for them to actually try and put it out and hopefully recoup their costs like that. Which is, firstly, I just want to say, is crazy to me.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is just insane that it is possible for them to get that big of a tax break as far as what kind of screwy system we got set up here. Because look, like if I bust my ass and spend a bunch of money creating something, I can't take and write it off like that. I just gotta fucking eat it, and that's the way it is. So
What do you mean? Why can't
yeah,
you?
not to the degree that they did, Hardaway, because there's a lot of
It's all
paperwork and
for
money you gotta have in.
it's percentages and shit like that,
It's
bro. That's all
yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
it's still problematic in my opinion that they're just capable of doing that, and I think it's part of the problem with a lot of in depth things that we're not going to go into.
Hey, check this out. Your gas that you get is a tax write-off, my guy. Just so you know, ladies and gentlemen, the gas you purchase to go travel to get your ass back and forth to work is a tax write-off.
Oh yeah.
Save
If I have
receipts.
expenses to go to shows, it's I got to keep all of my receipts and things like that, and my mileage and all that stuff.
Yep. All that shit matters. Every
Just
last
out of
bit of it.
curiosity, man, how many cons do you end up doing a year typically?
That's
This
the
year I'm
question.
not doing any because I'm just so busy with art. Like I've got so much on the go right now. Working on 2 books that I have to be finishing off to a publisher here as soon as I can get them done. So I took this year off of shows because it's a lot of time away, and when I'm at the shows, I'm not working, right? So I have hundreds of pages of work I gotta get done. So I'm not doing any this year. Sometimes I will get in as many as 6 or 7 shows, just because again it's a lot of time away, and I have a family and a wife, and I want to be around home as much as I can. I usually bring one of my kids with me when I go to a show, so usually I have somebody there to hang out and have fun, and it's a great experience for them. They get to sort of see, because I let them go explore the show a bit while they're there, so they get to go and sort of enjoy their fandoms, whatever they're into at the show, and then they also get to hang out with their dad and see, people coming up to my table and sort of chatting with me and buying things and getting drawings done and stuff like that. So.
Seeing what that does.
Yeah, I think they get a real kick out of it. It's interesting.
So you got any interesting convention stories? Like, is there? And
I was
I'm
just about
like
to ask that
on
question.
well, no, I was just saying on the positive and the negative end. On like going out to conventions, man, you got like one that just tops it where you're like, that was phenomenal, and then you got another one where it's like, I'm gonna shoot that dude.
I haven't had any really negative experiences. I know that sounds so corny, but
No,
I'm
firstly,
usually just
that's
so
awesome.
happy to be there.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
don't
I
mean to
mean? Like,
interrupt you, Jason, but no, it doesn't because I don't. I mean, it's been a while since I've been to conventions, but comic book conventions are not typically hostile places. I don't think.
no, not
Yeah,
usually. usually. Yeah,
You don't
and
get
most of the
that.
ones I go to are very well organized, they're very well run. We have fantastic volunteers. Everybody that gets invited as a guest, like you get to know everybody when you go and do shows. For example, in Canada, most of the cities that I go to, I'll run into the same, people that I've run into from city to city because they're also Canadian creators, right? So we all sort of travel in the same circle. So it's it's almost like a little second family. It's really fun that way.
How many of them have been on the questionnaire?
Well, you guys recently had Mike Ruth on. I saw him on, and
Yeah,
Mike
Mike
is
Ruth.
Mike is one of my favorite people.
Mike is a phenomenal dude, man.
Yeah, he is
Yeah, he's a
great.
good dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
and he
shout out
does
if you want to
phenomenal
just
work.
watch Mike
Yeah,
draw. There's a past episode where it's BS in Swamp Thing and Mike Ruth, and you can literally just
yes.
watch him sketch the Swamp Thing that I need to get properly in the background, but I've been doing a lot of things, so things ain't being.
So
Yeah,
I
you
got
know.
a question for you, good sir. And this question goes along the lines of weird shit because I don't ask normal shit. All right. So, which one of your characters do you think will fit best in Wacky Racers? I'm still over the fact that you got car driver
Yeah.
people and
I
whatnot.
think
So I'm like,
probably the deer and moose themselves, like the two main characters, because the moose is the big, strong, silent guy. He doesn't actually talk. His only dialogue is a snort in every issue.
nice.
So so he doesn't actually have anything to say. So he wouldn't be good to have on his own. And then the deer always interacts with him as if he understands what the snort means. So the deer kind of is like the idea guy. He comes up with the plan, the vehicle idea, and then the moose is the guy that kind of he's the muscle. He puts it all together, and then he's there as kind of the enforcer when we have a character called Ratsy Stinker who shows up all the time, and he's like a villain. So he's like a rat who drives around and always tries to cheat to win and tries to do things to undermine everybody else at the races and things like that. So he's always showing up. He's one of our reoccurring villains. So those two
What
guys
was
probably
that like?
fit in.
Sly Whiplash. So he's your guys' Sly Whiplash.
Yeah. He's definitely a Sly Whiplash type character. Yeah, for sure. He's always up to
Awesome.
no good. Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna have to see. I'm not just asking these questions to just ask them for like the questionnaire. These are also personal questions because I want to know how deeply I'm about to get involved in cartoons. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm already interested in buying some for my kid, but now I'm like, well, now how deeply will I get into it? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So it's
They are great. By the
um
way, they're great books to sit and
Yeah.
read with your kid. I mean, especially like if they're into cars and such. Which
Hmm.
my boy loves Hot Wheels, and I can't tell you how many different toy this and that's like when he literally like we were walking around and I asked Dave, I was like, "Do you got any like cartoon or car based comics or anything like that?" And just
Yeah.
straight to cartoons. That's where and I handed that to like the first issue I handed my boy. It was like because I mean we've walked around the comic store, and he's seen all that. But when he's seen this magazine with this big old car on it like that, that was drawn like he'd been looking around at all these comics, dude, it's like his face lit up. And every time I get a new, can I say I wish y'all released that shit more than quarterly though.
It's every 2 months. So
Oh,
they're
2 months. My
they're
bad.
bi-monthly. Yeah. I wish it
Yeah.
was monthly as well. It would be great. I mean, if the readership keeps going up, then I'm sure that it's something to look at. But it's nice to see it back. I mean, I'm just glad to get to be a part of it. I mean, I get to draw with guys like George Trosley, who somebody I idolized as a kid, right? Like this guy, his art has blown me away for decades, and it's a weird thought to get to be part of that crowd now. It's just I mean, I've been doing it for 7 years, 8 years, and every time I see the book out in print and I look at my strip in there, I just think, man, I can't believe I get to do this. Like it's so fun.
Well, I'm curious, man. What are the other two books like that you've got in the works that you're not doing conventions for? Can you get into any details with those?
Yeah, for sure. So Carson and I do some other we do a lot of like comic book history sort of stuff. And so we did a book. If you go on Amazon.ca and look up our name, there's a book on there called I can't believe. Oh my God, they printed that. Is what it's called,
All I
and
know is, look, real
it's a
quick.
history book.
Well, I just want to say
Oh,
Jason's going to give me the link to that, so there will be a link in the
yeah,
description of the interview if you all want to go check out what he's about to describe.
absolutely. Yeah, and it's a over 300-page history book, and it looks at comic strips that were published by Marvel, DC, Disney, Warner, all kinds of different, major publishers of the day that if we saw them in print today would offend us. Like not just offend us, we would go, I can't believe that this got printed. And it's really a satirical look at it, but it's also a bit of the history of comics and a history of just sort of some of the ways that we looked at women and culture and races in the comic book format. And then we have another book out that is actually only recently released. It came out actually just about a month ago, and it's called "Why Do They Call Them Fan Conventions When the Fans Aren't Very Conventional?" I don't come up with the titles. This is the writers doing, and it's a collection of interviews and comic strips, all about comic cons and pop culture events. And my writer that I work with, Carson, got to interview a slew of celebrities and artists and writers and people from television and movies and things like that. And he talked to them about their different convention experiences. What were their weirdest experiences? What were their best experiences or most fun that they've had at conventions? He even gets to interview Bela Lugosi's daughter, which I thought was just so neat.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so they're like a wide variety of topics, but they're both basically historical sort of things. Right now, we have a book coming out called "Hey Buddy, do you want to buy an eyeball?" And it's about all of the weird stuff you used to be able to mail order in the backs of magazines. So again, it's not a
Oh
comic
shit!
book, but it's related to the history of cartoons and things of that
I
nature.
definitely need that one
Yeah, and
because
then we're
I
working
guess
on Oh My God, Marvel published that, which will be out later on this year. And Oh My God, DC published that. So we're doing one for each, where we get a little more in depth on some of the different things that both companies have put out.
yeah,
And
like that
so
one time when Captain America said Iron Man needs a good dicking.
No,
I'm
wait,
not
I'm
sure if that's
curious.
in there or not.
Is there anything? Is
It
there
should
anything out of
be.
those two specific ones that really stick out at you? Like something that you would think, like, wow, DC or Marvel really actually published that?
I
What the
think it's a
hell?
lot of the stuff that came out during the 70s, like Brother Voodoo and like the Werewolf by Night stuff, when that stuff was all coming out. Just some of the stereotypical things that they snuck into the strips that you would look at and just go, I don't feel comfortable with this. You know, it's
What's
just
really messed up is I actually like Brother Voodoo.
I know it's I have a very mixed feelings about it because I grew up on that stuff, right? Like that's Werewolf by Night is a comic book I remember reading in black and white in the big magazine editions. And I know Brother Voodoo was in there, and so was the Living Zombie, which as a character doesn't make any sense, right? How can you be living and a zombie?
He is still used to this day, and
I
he's
know.
hilarious. I love him so much. I
The early 70s stuff was wild.
oh my god, not even ridiculously wild, but Living Zombie is like got to be my favorite one because I think if they call him a living zombie because he is a zombie, but he
Right.
still thinks. You
He's
know what
alive.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's still alive, but he has to eat a specific thing in order to keep himself straight. If he don't,
Yeah.
you dealing with a true blue, full blown zombie, bro.
Yeah. It reminds me of the iZombie comic book and show, but yeah, it's I wonder if that's what their inspiration was for that. I'm not sure, but I like Aldred's stuff. His stuff is really awesome. But yeah,
iZombie and
so
iVampire are really messed up though, man.
oh yeah. Yeah, they are.
Is there any? Are there? Well, let's get into this, man. Like, let's say you got a chance to write some
Yeah.
or to draw some superhero, right? What writer would you want to work with?
Oh, I'm gonna go old school. I'm gonna go Chris Claremont.
Man,
Or Ed
I'm,
Bryson, if I'm looking current.
I'm telling you, Chris Claremont. Like, I think, like that man with what he did with the X-Men, really, like, because if you can go back and look at, like,
Yeah.
you'll hopefully be able to look at the pre-show questionnaire series pretty soon, as well as if you look back at all the quests we've had. Claremont's name has been brought up a lot on this show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, for obvious reasons. The dude did something on a whole different level with the X-Men. I think if it wasn't for Chris Claremont, I don't know where, like, the X-Men probably wouldn't have gotten options so quickly as a film, right?
Right. I think he is one of those writers who just really understood how to write relationships. Like all of the different character dynamics, all the different personalities, and then having them all interacting in a larger group and figuring out the dynamics of all of that and making it presentable in a way that it doesn't stand out. It doesn't feel fake. Like he gave each of these characters a personality, and then throughout his whole run, that personality arc doesn't change. Like they might grow as a person, they might change a little as a character, but you know who Storm is from issue to issue. You know who Forge is from issue to issue. Beast is the same guy from issue to issue.
I don't
And you
know.
know, like Wolverine.
Have you read the recent X-Men comics and what they're doing with Beast?
I haven't.
He a
I haven't.
villain.
Yeah.
He's went a
I haven't
little.
been reading a lot of the recent stuff.
Yeah, Beast is.
Yeah.
Beast is. I mean, I haven't read a
Hank,
lot of it, but Dave and me have talked about it on This Month in Comics and a couple other things. But yeah,
he's just tired, bro.
I could see that.
Hank's tired. He's tired of all the shit.
I'll say, did you read Age of Apocalypse, Jason?
I did, yeah. That was quite some time ago, but yeah.
Oh yeah, he's going a little Dark Beast, but in the 616 universe, to put it lightly. That's pretty much what it boils down to. But I think that's another, like, if you were to just go and grab a random X-Men comic right now,
right,
and you didn't have a prior base knowledge of what's happened the past 5 years within it, especially, like, I think you would need to read House of X, a couple other things, some things by Brian Hickman, and probably the X-Men Eternals Avengers issue or everything they did. Like, there's just you would be really, really hard pressed to pick it up and be able to be like, yeah, you know, just because, like, again, there's so much legacy there. I'm curious though, man, to get back to the films one. I love your favorite Spider-Man, the animated series. Now, are you talking about the one in the 90s?
Yeah, I loved how it was written. I also loved the newer animated movie, though they were both great. Either like I would pick either or, honestly. Like they're both fantastic. I loved how they did. I think what I loved about the animated series from the 90s was the Peter Parker in those shows felt kind of like the Peter Parker in the comics. Like you could relate to him as a character, and you weren't just tuning in just to see Spider-Man. You were tuning in to see how Peter solved whatever issue he had. And then also Spider-Man happens, right? So I think that's what I liked the most about that. And then with the animated Spider-Man film that was recently out, I loved the whole Miles Morales story with having the Spider-Man in his universe get bumped off. It was like that tie into the Ultimates. And I really liked the Ultimates comics. I thought they were great. And again, it was one of those things where it was a new restarting point. So I had collected the Spider-Man in the Ultimates because I loved Mark Bagley's work. So I sort of followed Bagley onto the book and then stayed around for the story. So that was kind of my hook on that one.
And I'll say to the Ultimate Spider-Man run and the specific moment, and then the specific moment that he's referencing, that is one of two things that I've read comic book wise that made me tear up a little, bro. I'm kind of glad they didn't. I'm kind of glad they didn't take it that dark in the Spider-Verse to where it's like he literally beat some dude to death to save his aunt and died in the process. Like, it was spoilers, man. But if you only read that, like, you probably aren't going to get around to it.
10 or so years ago.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Hold on, real talk. Because as far as I remember, Peter didn't die. He came back as a dick in the Ultimate Universe, as far as I remember, with the Miles Morales. I've read a lot of Miles Morales and whatnot, and that Peter didn't die.
Hardaway, when you say this, I swear sometimes you're referring to when Morales ends up in the 616 universe. Because he doesn't stay in the Ultimate Universe.
No, I knew. But I'm talking about when Miles Morales is like going out doing his thing and whatnot. Peter was supposed to be dead. They're like, Spider-Man's dead, and
Right.
Peter and Miles was like, "Well, how are you here?" Type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're supposed to be gone. And he straight took because this is when Miles had his the web shooters and everything. Peter came back and jacked that shit from him and whatnot. So it's like Peter, I guess at one point Peter did die in his storyline, but when it comes to Miles Morales' storyline, he came back. And it was one of the not nicest versions of Peter.
Man, Jason,
that
is
you
he right
see.
on that? Because I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not honestly sure. I thought he died in the Ultimates universe.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I could
pretty
be
sure
wrong.
when they killed Parker in the Ultimate series, I'm pretty sure they killed Parker in the Ultimate series.
Yeah. And then
Not
it
to say
With
started
that they
out
Miles
with
could.
Miles
Morales,
right away. Yeah.
it started out with Miles right away. I'm
Yeah.
telling y'all, look it up. Peter comes because I read Miles's line in the Ultimate Universe before everything with the what's his name? I keep forgetting the evil Reed Richards.
The Maker.
The Maker. Before the Maker started ruining everything and started messing up stuff, Miles Morales runs into again Peter Parker, and Peter Parker is not. He's
I
not
have bet
happy.
that was a
He's not
clone,
friendly.
man. Because I'm
He's not
telling
your
you,
neighborhood friendly
when
Spider
they
anymore.
killed
You know what
Parker
I'm
in the
saying?
Ultimate series, bro,
Yeah.
they killed Parker in the Ultimate series. But if there was a clone of Parker, that wouldn't be surprising. I mean, how
No,
many
well, it's
clones of
Marvel,
there are
right? I
Peter
mean,
Parker?
anything is possible. Insert
Yeah,
clone here, right? So
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know. I don't think it was Ben Riley though. That was the
no,
thing.
I
It
don't
was
think it was.
really,
No.
yeah. I don't think it was any clone. It wasn't Kane or anybody like that. It was
Yeah.
Peter
All right,
Parker in
but
Miles Morales' storyline, which is the
but we
Ultimate
digress.
Universe.
But we digress far from the point. Which I'm curious, man. Um, you're talking about the
Well,
Spider-Man. Huh? Well, you're talking about the Spider-Man animated series in the '90s, though, that being your favorite. And I agree.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
great because
which
it
is
did.
also my daughter's favorite, by the
Yeah,
way.
it kept very, very
Just
close
good
to the
choice.
comic.
Good taste. Yeah.
Yeah, it kept very, very close to the like. You could see the comic in the show,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now I mean, you said you've been a comic book fan forever, man, right? So, what's your thoughts on the fact that it's gone from, there was some comic book stuff out there to now, everyone knows Iron Man's name. And I don't mean
Mm-hmm.
Iron Man. I mean, they know who the fuck Tony Stark is. They know who
Right.
Steve Rogers is. They know, you know, and then, and as a side effect, especially based on the fact that, um, Disney, man, well, Marvel and Disney respectively, because they weren't, uh, with Disney yet when they released Iron Man, but they ended up
Right.
creating this huge universe. And then DC is like, oh well, we're not selling our properties anymore, and now they're keeping it all tight so they can try and do the same thing. I really hope they do. Much love, James, man. I
Yeah.
hope you pull that off. I really, really do. I'd love to see a DC universe. I need Lobo in my life, like properly done in a film, so
Man, I
bad.
would love to see a Lobo film. I think it would be great.
Dude, look, and I hope you see. There's a rumor Jason Momoa is going to play him.
I'm in. I mean, whoever, I don't care who they put in it. If it's
No, no,
Lobo,
no.
I'm
But look, and like the Aquaman film that I seen was pretty good. I haven't seen the next one because it's not out. But you can't tell me if you look at Jason Momoa, give him the complexion of Lobo and red eyes. It's fucking
I
Lobo.
could see it. Yeah, I
And
could
you
see
would
it.
have the original main man. You would.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I
It
just
is.
like the new 52 version better.
Yeah, man,
Every-
Megan and all that. But I'm curious, man, in seeing all that and evolve this way to the point where now when a movie company wants to reach out, they have to reach other places. They can't go to Marvel or DC. So it's creating so much more comic content. Like, what's your
Right.
opinion of that, man? Because I mean, it's gotten to the point where people consume comic book material. They don't fucking know that they were consuming comic book material. Not that that didn't happen a lot with the movie The Crow way back in the day, but that's a whole
Right.
nother point.
I'm excited by it because it's giving us more opportunity to see new voices, right? Like you're going to see a lot of independent creators who otherwise might not have ever gotten their shot, and they're going to put out content that might blow your brain out, right? Like look at I mean, there have been so many. I know that Mice Templar didn't get made. But
Wait, what?
Mouse Guard, I'm sorry, Mouse Guard. I'm a fan of both. So
I was about to
Dave
trip. I
Peterson's
was like,
Mouse Guard.
wait, there is a thought of it getting made?
Mouse Guard itself, they had begun production on, and I had been lucky enough. I'm pals with Dave Peterson online, and so I've seen a lot of like the behind the scenes stuff that he was able to leak. And I got to say, I was excited to see that movie come out. And when they announced that it wasn't going to go ahead, I was gutted because I thought, God, this was going to be such a beautiful thing. It was going to just be incredible to see. It would have been so. I thought it would have been just a runaway blockbuster hit because it was going to hit. The kids are going to want to see it. Any adult who's read the comics is going to want to see it. I just saw it as being something that would just open a lot of doors, and maybe that one movie might lead to some other Archaea products getting made. Maybe Boom Studios having something made. So every time I see somebody getting that leg up, getting that opportunity, I'm happy for it.
On the note of Boom Studios, they actually do have something that's killing the children in pre-production.
Yeah. And I'm excited to see.
Oh my fucking God, yes. I hope they keep it as gritty as that comic.
Yeah.
That book.
Back to Mouse Guard. Back to Mouse Guard and whatnot. I'm curious, am I the only one who considers all mouse or rat media where they like have weapons or magic or technology or anything like that, but they're still small? It's still a part of the world, the secret of NIM?
Yeah, it does have that secret of NIM kind of quality to it, but you'll never get away from that. I mean, if they could have been mouse badgers, badger guard or any other animal guard, right? If you put a sword and a shield on something, I mean, they had Redwall, which was very similar. So I mean, anytime you're going to put animals into knights in shining armor and things like that, you're going to get that comparison to the secrets of NIM. But I think it's because it's just inevitable that we're going to sort of double up on I mean, if it's a cool concept, if it's a cool idea, I think it's always going to get duplicated in some way. But people might take it into a different direction. I was excited to see the turtle ship like on screen because I thought that's just so cool. I mean, houses and stuff hanging off the back of this tortoise coming out of the water. Like I just visually, it was just going to be just candy.
I want to know, as far as cool's concerned, then Jason, what comic out there would you really like to see adapted?
Joanna and the Impossible Monsters would be visually awesome. It's a newer comic book. It was done as just a short mini series, I believe. I think it's over now. My daughter absolutely loved it. She's 14, so she's at that age where it's tough to find things that are exciting or interesting. She loves to read. And so finding a comic book that she was excited about to the point that she couldn't wait to get the book home to start reading it. When I found that comic book, I was like, yes, thank you. This is marvelous. And she would be excited. She would like count the days to the next issue coming out. So I think the idea of having a little kid running around punching monsters in the nose and having the monsters being so gargantuan on the big screen would be just awesome. It would be perfect. Think Pacific Rim, but the kid is a regular sized kid.
Nice. I want to see that. I would like to see that. I would also like to see Once in the Future.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
No, I can't lie, and I'm totally just bringing up two past guests in this. But if you did any of the trilogy from Wagner, as far as plush, vinyl, or plastic,
no,
right?
Those should not hit live action or animated.
I mean, you could. Oh no, dude, whatever. Those would be phenomenal. And
the world's not ready.
I don't give a damn if the world's ready or not. I said I wanted to see it.
No,
I don't care.
I'm not ready.
And then Erica Schultz. I don't know if you like the Deadliest Bouquet would. Oh my God, that would be phenomenal. And then M3 would be a phenomenal spy.
You did not just honk at me.
Right, like those two. Like, and again, I'm bringing up two past guests, and I could sit here, list on and on and on and on things. Right, like I could. It would be, and like I want to see a ton of shit. Like I want to see the Age of Apocalypse done in some kind of form.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh my God! But they'll never, like, if they ever pull that off right, it's because Marvel has the rights now, right?
Right.
I'm curious, when you're working on cartoons, is there ever a time where you guys kind of like throw things like ideas around, and does it happen often where you're like, oh, we can't do that, we'll get sued?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you can do parodies of things. Like there are certain things like if you look at some of the cars I've drawn, I can't draw the logo of the vehicle because I don't own the trademark. I can draw the car, but I can't put the logo on it. And most people don't notice that, right? Like you can draw the shape of the logo, like the Ford oval or whatever, but I don't put the actual logo on the cars, and that's strictly because I don't want to get hit with any kind of a lawsuit. I don't want to be accused of taking somebody's trademark. If they don't like that we took their car and crashed it, they could look at that as defamation, right? And so even though we are doing a parody comic book and we could probably get away with it, I choose not to do it because I don't want there to be an issue. So there are things like that. I mean, I've done one-off drawings of like Batman in the 66 Batmobile, but I could never do Batman in the 66 Batmobile in cartoons because that would get us sued likely. Because I think Warner Brothers has a habit of wanting to really control that trademark, right? So there are times when I would love to play in certain playgrounds, but we have to sort of avoid it to just make sure we're not.
Well, you do know the original Steamboat Mickey Mouse is about to, so you guys will soon be able to play with that one, just so I can feed it into your head.
That only depends if Disney doesn't pay and reschedule that one. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like if they pay the money to get that right.
They can't pay to reschedule it. It becomes they will literally have to have the fucking law changed for him. They've already done that at one point. It was called the Mouse Protection Act or some bullshit, man. They literally have to have the fucking laws changed. Otherwise, it becomes public domain.
Right. It's tough to get around the public domain part of things. But I know that we, for example, when we were looking at characters and things like that, I deliberately we just had a strip out in the new issue that's coming out, and the character is a parody of Chester Cheetah. And so when I was designing him, you have to walk up to a certain line and then you can't cross that line, right? I can't draw Chester Cheetah, but I can draw enough of the character that you go, okay, he's making fun of Chester Cheetah, right? Like, so it's a similar sort of thing. It's a bit of a juggling act. It's something I'm very aware of. Yeah.
How do you make sure that in that juggling act you don't cross the line, man? Because I feel like that's going to be a pretty thin line.
You have to change enough of the character to make sure it's not an accurate representation of the character. So I have to lose things. Like, for example, he has those sunglasses that he always wears. My character doesn't have them. And he's got leopard spots instead of cheetah spots.
Huh.
That's what I'll say if they bring me into court.
That's gotta be that's gotta be mind numbing, Jason.
But what if you, instead of having the sunglasses, what if you gave him like the Harry Potter circle glasses?
Well, the problem with putting glasses on his face at all is that it's way easier for the company to draw parallels and to make that assertion that you are essentially drawing their character. So I try to leave off that stuff that 100% makes it that character. Like, for example, Ratsy is basically Mickey Mouse, right? But I can't draw the ears the same way I would draw Mickey Mouse's ears, because if I do that, I'm getting sued. So I changed the nose, I changed the ears, Ratsy.
I gotta ask them, has cartoons ever been sued for crossing a line?
Not that I'm aware of. I think the parody laws kind of help us quite a bit with that. And usually they partner up with people. They're really good at reaching out to different car companies or reaching out to different personalities. Like we did a Gas Monkey issue where we actually had the guys from Gas Monkey kind of okay things. We did an issue with Hot Wheels where Hot Wheels had final say on the artwork that went out. So we've done a lot of like that kind of crossover stuff. Chip Foose is actually doing a cover for us in the next little bit here. I actually think he's in the next issue. The next issue has a Chip Foose cover, which if you're a car person, like for me, I was just thrilled to hear that because I thought, oh my God, like Chip Foose, are you kidding me? Like that guy's created Hot Wheels cars that are drivable. Like, so I get to nerd out a lot too. It's a lot of fun.
I say we had to get Hardaway Eaton in on the episode. We did because it hasn't happened yet, and he does it every fucking episode. Yeah, that's what Hardaway does.
Cool.
But in all sincerity, I'm kind of getting hungry. This has been a real dope quest. It has, Jason, and I appreciate the fact that you all create a book that allowed me to really enjoy comics with my son. You know, because like I said, I mean,
I
he's just
love
about to
that.
turn
That's what
4.
I love to hear. Absolutely. Like if you're a kid out there and you're looking for a book to read and you're reading it and you're loving it, let us know. Send us an email to Cartoons Magazine. We love to hear from the kids. My favorite memory at a show is I had a little guy in the Calgary Comic Con walk up to my table. He bought a couple copies of cartoons, went away, came back 10 minutes later, bought every single issue that I had, bought one of each, and ran off all excited. And I was like, that kid is going to probably be reading this comic book for the rest of his enjoyment of cars, and that makes me happy. Yeah.
Well, and like I said, man, you're literally it helps promote literacy. The more you can
I
get,
think so.
yeah, the more you can get people to read, the more they're gonna evaluate a great number of other things more in their life, in my opinion. Right? They really are. Look,
100%.
and you know what I love more than anything is I got your last name right, bro. It's Jason Sylvestre. Yeah, on the questionnaire.
I do.
We don't
I
keep.
do want to say this though. What? Don't look at me like that. Just because you can read this beautiful thing, but reading comprehension is more important.
That is true.
If you do not comprehend, if you don't comprehend what you're reading, you do not understand it. You just understand like, oh, this is a word. Cool. What does it all mean together? You know what I'm
See,
saying?
and man, I
Yep.
gotta add a point to you or a point to that, Hardaway. I think that's why comic books really help reading comprehension because you have the art of the story as well as the words. So I think it makes it to where your comprehension level of the words that you're reading will be greater because you can actually see what's going on. So hell yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for validating the shit out of my point, bro. I appreciate it because yeah. So remember that, ladies and gentlemen, and get your comic on, right? I don't care what it is. Cartoons, Marvel, DC, Image, Boom, Dynamite, IDW. I can sit here and list a shitload more. Go fund some Kickstarters. I promise.
Valiant.
Huh? Oh yeah, he's
I said
Valiant.
Valiant.
He had to
I'm a
say
Valiant
Valiant. That
man all
doesn't
day.
surprise me, right? But
Soon to be a cartoon man all day.
yeah,
Right on.
look. So remember that, right? And remember, I mean, go support a Kickstarter. There's tons of Erica's got a Kickstarter starting right now, Christabel, which looks phenomenal. There, and know that whatever
Midnight
you're
Comics
into,
got one.
but just know whatever you're into, I assure you, there's a comic book out there that you will enjoy. All right, because there's comic books for everything. All right, there's not a subject that's not touched within the medium. Not anymore. There's just not. They've expanded that far. Jason, I want to thank you for coming on the questionnaire, man. It has been a pleasure. We will. I'm gonna continue to see your art for God knows how long because my boy loves it, and I mean I enjoy the
Excellent.
magazine too. In all honesty, I just shit. If I had more time to read, I wouldn't like. I mean, I don't have a stack of books or anything that I need to get through. Uh, just yeah. Plus, like shitload of shit to edit. I swear, I need to like take a break on this show just so I can catch up on comic book reading.
I hear you there, man. I gotta stop drawing so I can start reading.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hey man, it ain't gonna
There it
happen.
goes.
It ain't gonna
Nope.
happen, man, because it's a quest, and the things must be provided to let you all know you do
That's right.
sincerely need to get your comic on. This has been Jason Sylvestre. I know y'all think I'm pronouncing it wrong. Looking at his name right there below on the screen. Well, that's if you're watching the video. You might just be listening to the audio, I guess. But I didn't. He told me so beforehand, right? So do me a favor, like, subscribe, hit that bell, notification button. Find us on Facebook. Find us on uh, Twitter. I really need to create an Instagram. I ain't having time to do that yet. And there will soon be a website coming to where we can, check all this out. But before we go, I do want to let you know, man, if you've enjoyed this interview with Jason, I'd really fucking close that. Seriously. I fucked up, and I didn't get his
It's all good.
questionnaire printed out beforehand. So I'm really annoyed. But shit, send him a bunch of cauliflower. No. If you enjoyed this interview, right, send him a Minotaur with whatever toy he wrote down. I don't remember. Hopefully, y'all be able to fucking read it by the time this episode drops. That's debatable, right? If not, send him a shitload of cauliflower. Yeah.
Don't send me cauliflower. I don't want it.
Have a good night, y'all.
Good night.